Hey guys, what's going on? Sakura Stardust here, wishing you're all having the loveliest of lovely days wherever you are. And back by popular demand is my series on lost Japanese media. The last video did really well, which made me really happy considering it's a new direction for my channel kinda. And I'm back with even more lost Japanese media, which I'm actually really surprised that there is a lot more that I didn't know about. And a lot of you guys came forward and gave me some really good pieces of lost media that I have included in this video. My voice cracked. But yeah, we're gonna be going over lost Japanese anime, games, television shows, music, anything that's from Japan that is lost, that is interesting, and hopefully there's some that you guys haven't heard of. And that's about it. So without further ado, let's get started. Tokyo Kid Brothers theatrical performances. Partially lost. Early 1970s. Among the most unique and obscure Japanese lost media I've come across is that of Tokyo Kid Brothers, a Japanese musical theater troupe founded by Yutaka Higashi that has been active since 1968. And before I go any further, I do want to give a special thanks to Reddit user CoolDude35 for providing a lot of the info and sources regarding this theater troupe and their history. Tokyo Kid Brothers have an extensive discography and an equally extensive history of performances. Interestingly enough, one of them actually being a take on the iconic Japanese superhero Golden Bat, as stated by a few New Yorker articles I came across. We'll be talking about some lost Golden Bat media later on in the video as well, so look forward to it. A history of Tokyo Kid Brothers releases is up on Discogs, and that aspect of their history is well documented. The element that is not well documented, however, is their performances prior to 1975, as the majority of them are lost and not available. What's particularly notable about this is that Tokyo Kid Brothers had an extensive transition in their musical style and aesthetic after 1975, as their content after that date became more pop and mainstream. Their performances before 1975 are described using words like experimental, provocative, psychedelic, and even grotesque. Here's some album covers from that pre-1975 era. Footage of these early plays exist within the La Mama archives in New York, and there is the possibility of some being stored in Japanese archives. Despite this, none of these performances are available to the public. The audio, however, is available to listen to online through YouTube, and the albums themselves are up for sale too. Totoko Hamtaro Anime Dechu. Recently found anime OVA. 1999. Among my favorite anime to watch after school when I was a kid was Hamtaro. It may very well be the first slice of life anime I was exposed to, and I mean, what's not to love about cute anime hamsters? It wasn't until years later when I found out that not only did the main Hamtaro anime exist from the early 2000s, but also two later series released in 2006 and 2001, as well as the children's manga it's based upon. And then there's also a one-shot animation OVA based on the manga that had an extremely limited VHS release. That short animation being Totoko Hamtaro Anime Dechu. Released in 1999 and predating all the other Hamtaro anime, this animation is a little under 30 minutes in length and has a few differences in characters and plot compared to the 2000 anime series. Among these changes are Hamtaro himself being owned by a different girl, characters being different genders or different in appearance, and Hamtaro being the only character that talks, hamster-wise. This direct-to-VHS OVA is overall a closer adaptation to the original manga by Ritsuko Kawai. This OVA had a very limited release, so much so that very little proof of it existing was available. Confirmation was made of Totoko Hamtaro's existence when this magazine ad was found offering the VHS for sale through mail order. This was one of two ways to obtain this VHS. The VHS was also given out to employees at Shogakukan, the company that made the OVA, if they had children in the age demographic of the animation. For quite some time, this animation was completely lost, and it was unknown how many copies existed and if any were still out there. The only way of actually finding this piece of lost media would be to ultimately find one of the VHS tapes. And luckily, I can say that this did end up being the case. When a copy of this extremely rare VHS tape popped up on a Japanese auction site, the admins of a Hamtaro fan site called Ham Ham Paradise came together in order to purchase and share this animation that was almost lost to time. Totoko Hamtaro Anime Dechu was ultimately uploaded to YouTube in its entirety in 2017. If you're familiar with Hamtaro at all, you can tell that the art style is different to the later anime. It kind of feels like that meme where you're like, "Mom, I want Hamtaro," and your mom's like, "We have Hamtaro at home," and this is the Hamtaro at home, you know? Like, you can tell it didn't have the highest budget, and it may have been made to just figure out how to adapt this series about hamsters to an anime format, but it's really interesting and endearing in its own way, and I'm really happy this one ended up being found. And you know what? Hamtaro is a really good and underrated anime, so go ahead and drop a like down in that comment section below if you like Hamtaro. And yeah, moving on. Pro Golfer Reiko. Partially found TV drama, 1987. This drama series, having aired between 1987 and 1988, is really something. While there isn't a whole lot available regarding the series, I do know this. It's essentially Sukeban Deka, but instead of a yo-yo, the girl uses a golf club and golf balls. And yes, it is as crazy as it sounds. And to those lovely viewers of mine out there who aren't familiar with Sukeban Deka, it's a manga turned iconic 80s drama where the main character is a high school delinquent who attacks her foes with a yo-yo. It's a pretty fun and entertaining series, and if you're into that whole 1980s Showa era Japanese delinquent thing, then definitely check it out. And now, back to the lost media. Pro Golfer Reiko aired on Fuji TV and had 23 episodes. It's listed on web pages as a sports drama, but from the opening and very few clips available, I'm not really seeing a whole lot of the actual sports happening. I mean, I do see the golf, but mainly delinquent golf stuff, which are 3 words I never thought I would ever have to say in the same sentence. It is speculated that this drama, which was likely just trying to grab a chunk of that sweet Sukeban demographic of the time, did very poorly and never re-aired due to horrible ratings. As a matter of fact, I can't even find official confirmation that all 23 episodes aired at all. So it is possible that some may have never been seen or broadcasted. Though I really am just speculating this part. So far, at the time of me recording this video and speaking into the microphone reading the script, Pro Golfer Reiko only has the first episode, the opening, and some advertisements found. And while there aren't really any synopsises I found online, from what I've gathered from the first episode, based solely on me watching it and doing a very, very rough translation at the last minute, since this is kind of a late addition to the video, is that Reiko essentially had a first love, a boy named ｓhinyy, and her father was a pro golfer who taught her how to golf, and she's really good at golf, hence the pro golfer name. But then things take kind of a dramatic turn as her father accidentally hits her in the chest with a golf ball and hospitalizes Reiko. This causes ｓhinyy to get really mad and beat up the dad. Now, while Reiko is unconscious and hospitalized, her father is brought to despair and grief by the accident and ends his own life. After this event, Reiko wakes up and her and her mother really struggle to make ends meet. Due to the current state of her life and aggression as well as her own grief, Reiko rebels and becomes somewhat of a biker delinquent type character. And again, please correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. I'm doing a very rough translation at 3 in the morning, so if I got anything wrong, feel free to comment it. Oh, and I forgot to mention, all of this happens before the opening credits. And again, despite only seeing a very little portion of this series, Pro Golfer Reiko is dramatic and amazing. I have no doubts of this, and I would love to see more of the series. But yeah, as previously stated, Pro Golfer Reiko received poor reception. Because of this, it may be tricky to find more episodes, and who can say whether or not Fuji TV still has these episodes, considering it's a series that ended up failing. I really would love to see more of this though. That first episode was a trip. Also, quick shout out to the YouTube channel Sukeban Deka Saki Sanobashi for telling me about this. Sazae-san. Partially found anime television series. 1969 to present. Sazae-san is essentially the original slice of life anime. Despite being about the everyday life of a Japanese family, the titular Sazae-san being the housewife, the series continues to air weekly and remain among the most popular broadcasts on Japanese television. It usually follows Sazae-san and her family with some lighthearted and wholesome content. Examples include Sazae-san getting lost in a mall and the family thinking of buying a car. Really simple but really wholesome family stuff that Japanese people today consider the traditional old-school Japanese family. And there's a lot of comfort in that, I think. This is a very long-running series, and there's an abundance of everyday life topics explored throughout the years. The older episodes serving as kind of a time capsule that shows how Japanese family life was at the time of its creation. Though, despite the elaborate and extensive library of Sazae-san episodes, a really big chunk of them are officially lost media. Being a beloved staple of Japanese television since 1969 and an iconic manga since 1946, Sazae-san is up there with long-running anime such as Doraemon, Cran Shin-chan, and Chibi Maruko-chan. As a matter of fact, Sazae-san is the longest-running televised anime in Japan's history with over 7,000 episodic segments. While it's important to consider that the episodes are only about 7 minutes in length, that's still an insane amount. What's even more insane is that many of these episodes, as I said, are completely lost. But to understand why, we first have to understand the creator of Sazae-san, Machiko Hasegawa, and her wishes for the series that are upheld and respected to this day. Born on January 9th of 1920, Hasegawa was among the very first female manga creators. She initially created Sazae-san all on her own in 1946, and the comic was eventually picked up and circulated by Asahi Shimbun, a Japanese newspaper, in 1949. The Sazae-san manga closely resembles comic strips found in Western newspapers rather than the style of most manga, but Sazae-san also began the format of 4-panel manga that in itself is a common format used today in a lot of comedy series. Hasegawa herself was never married and was incredibly private towards the end of her life. After retiring from creating manga in 1974, with almost 30 years of working on Sazae-san, Hasegawa stopped appearing on television and out in public. She passed away in 1992. Hasegawa had very specific wishes when it came to her creation, wishes that are the reason all these episodes of Sazae-san are missing. It was Hasegawa's request that episodes of Sazae-san were never released to home video. This, in combination with the fact that home VHS recording of broadcasts was not available at the time of Sazae-san's earliest days, makes the majority of these episodes lost. Another contributing factor is that once Sazae-san's episodes air, they don't re-air. There are a few exceptions to this rule, however, seen in the re-airing of early episodes for anniversary specials. There are those who record the episodes in an attempt to preserve as many as possible outside the studio's archive, but a lot of the episodes posted online are taken down with copyright claims. While it is a shame a lot of these episodes aren't viewable, I do respect the actions taken to respect Machiko Hasegawa's wishes. These actions are still taken 28 years after her passing, and it really shows a level of respect and consideration that's taken priority over making money off these video releases. So yeah, it is sad, but also really commendable. Hey guys, Future Sakura here, making some corrections with my video because the first upload did not have these facts and now I know them, so here they are. And this is something I did kind of know about before I uploaded, just forgot to add it, but Sazae-san, the first couple hundred episodes at least, maybe 500, I forgot, there's at least a couple few hundred. They're up on Amazon Prime Video in Japan, up for viewing, so if you have a VPN or if you're in Japan, you could definitely go and watch those very early episodes of Sazae-san. Now, in regards to the ethics of this, and if this respects Hasegawa's wishes, I don't really know personally. It's kind of pushing it there because it is a release and people are paying for that service, so I don't know about that. Preservation-wise, it's cool, but I think we all knew that it was preserved in the studio to some extent. So, I mean, I don't know. But yes, I am making the correction. Those early episodes are available for streaming. Super Mario Attack and Super Mario World 1989 build. Lost arcade game and early build of Super Famicom game. 1996 and 1989. Now, I couldn't make a video like this without including some kind of Nintendo media. I just love Nintendo too much. And while doing my research, I did find 2 Super Mario World related pieces of lost media, and they're kind of related to each other, and one of them doesn't have a lot of info known about it, so I'm gonna compile them into one segment right here. Super Mario Attack is an arcade game developed by Bon Presto in 1996 based on the 1990 Super Nintendo Entertainment System game Super Mario World. Now, like I said, there is not much known about this game, but I do find it interesting that it was developed by Bon Presto, which is typically known for making merch like stuffed animals, figurines, stuff like that, but also that it was a Super Mario World game made in 1996, 6 years after Super Mario World. So the gameplay of it is simple enough, nothing too elaborate. It basically has Mario landing on different items of different values, and the value is determined by the amount of medals you get, I believe. It was only released in Japan, which makes sense. It looks like a pretty obscure release itself. Looks like something that was in arcade games to earn prizes, but nonetheless, it is pretty interesting to me. The most interesting aspect of this, at least in my opinion, is that it's a full arcade cabinet and it's lost media. Meaning to me that they didn't make a whole lot of these arcade cabinets, and the few people who have them are probably private collectors who either haven't shared much of them or just haven't dumped the ROM because they don't want to. That's unfortunately the case with a lot of lost media, particularly games. Though I do feel like there's probably one of these Super Mario Attack cabinets somewhere in some old arcade in Japan, and the owner themselves probably doesn't know that it's lost or rare or of some kind of importance in the lost media community. Despite that, it's not lost completely. There is gameplay footage on YouTube. There's screenshots as well. I think the biggest thing is that we don't have the full game available. The ROM is not dumped online, and that's the biggest thing, and that's why it's lost media. Next, we're gonna go all the way back to 1989, a year before Super Mario World was actually released, and we're gonna take a look at the partially found early build of Super Mario World. So, like I said earlier, Super Mario World is a Super Nintendo Entertainment System game that was released in North America in 1991, but prior to that, it came out on the Super Famicom in Japan on November 21st of 1990. Super Mario World does have a bit of an extensive history, as it began development in early 1987. In the earliest days of development, Super Mario World actually started as an elaborate port of Super Mario Bros. 3 to the Super Famicom, just in order for developers to see how a Mario game would work on the new hardware. Despite this port just being a test, it did have elaborate new sprites for the Super Nintendo and looks kind of like a different game. It was in 1990 when the 1989 build, as it is dubbed today, was shown off in a Japanese magazine. It is clear in these photos that the 1989 build is a very different game from what we got eventually in 1990. To begin, the overworld map was completely different from the finished product, and the small Mario sprite was different as well. This build of the game also had a total of only 16 levels. You can tell that this build is very similar to the Super Mario Bros. 3 build, in that it has a lot of similar sprites and aesthetics. Regarding developments in the search, unfortunately we haven't seen any information and visuals on this 1989 build since that 1990 magazine article. Despite this, the magazine article does have quite a few images, and it's pretty interesting to compare it to the final release of Super Mario World. In addition, some unused sprites from Super Mario World can be found in the SNES burn-in test cart. If you are a Nintendo fan, you may have also heard of the July 2020 Giga Leak that revealed a ton of source codes for many early Nintendo games. And Super Mario World was a part of this leak. And while the 1989 build was not a part of this huge leak, there were quite a few unused assets that were, including this interesting concept art of Yoshi. And if you guys do enjoy listening to me talk about Super Mario stuff for an extended period of time, I do have a video coming out soon where I do exactly that. I'm calling it Super Mario Oddities, and I'll be going over weird and obscure Mario stuff in it, so look out for that video soon. Footage of Yukiko Okada's Heartjack Tour. Existence unconfirmed. 1986. I briefly touched on Yukiko Okada in my first Lost Media of Japan video in my segment for Yasuko Endo's lost single, In the Distance. Yukiko Okada had been active as a singer and idol for about 3 years before ending her own life. Because of this, the media focused heavily on her death. I'm not gonna go too much into her actual death, as I find the events of the day of her death, as well as the media's treatment of her suicide, sad and unpleasant. On April 8th of 1986, Yukiko Okada jumped from the roof of the building that held the offices of Sun Music, the company that managed Yukiko in Yotsuya, Tokyo. Only 2 days prior, on April 6th, she performed her final concert. The show was part of Yukiko's Heartjack tour, and there was a lot of marketing and promotion leading up to it. 2 months prior to the show, a short film was shot in the Sun Music building itself, featuring Yukiko rehearsing for the tour. This video is up on YouTube, and any City Pop fans will recognize her cover of Henri's I Can't Stop the Loneliness. Audio of her performances, particularly from the Nagoya show on April 6th, are on YouTube. There's also plenty of photos of the concert. This is where the lost media part comes in. While not confirmed, and it's kind of speculation on my part, it's likely video of the concert was recorded with the intention of releasing it to home video or having it on television. There is also partial confirmation of the existence of CD releases of the entire concert, as I found this post on the Yukiko Okada fans Facebook group. Yukiko's other performances were recorded, and there are plenty of VHS releases of her shows and specials. With Yukiko's growing popularity at the time of her Heartjack tour, as well as the clearly high-budget costumes and quality of the production itself, I doubt this would be an exception. Who knows if video footage really does exist, but I have a feeling that it's likely stored somewhere in the Sun Music building, which is a company that still exists today, in the very same location in Yotsuya. With everything considered, I love the whole aesthetic of Showa idols, and Yuko is one of my favorites, alongside Akina Nakamori, Yoko Oginome, and Chisato Moritaka. Yukiko seemed like such a sweet person, and I want more people to discover and enjoy her music. Her songs Summer Beach, Sweet Planet, and Bien are really mellow and nice. I highly recommend them to anyone who likes city pop or just 80s music or mellow music in general. Bubblegum Crisis, Tokyo 2041. Unreleased anime series. Early 2000s. Okay, so not much is known about this one, other than that it was an intended sequel to Bubblegum Crisis Tokyo 2040. For those of you who don't know, Bubblegum Crisis was originally a dystopian cyberpunk anime OVA that was released between 1987 and 1991 with a total of 8 episodes. The plot involves a group of female mercenaries who fight robots and junk. There's also great music in it, and it's one of the very first anime OVAs I've ever watched, and is still one I highly recommend. Also, fun fact for this one, the series was worked on by Hiroki Hayashi and Masaki Kajishima. Both would later work on the original Tenchi Muyo OVA, Tenchi Muyo Ryuoki. Also, both Hayashi and Kajishima were inspired to create Tenchi because of a few ideas they had for Bubblegum Crisis that never came to fruition, such as a Hot Springs episode, and the whole harem thing with one guy and a whole bunch of girls. Now, Bubblegum Crisis Tokyo 2040 is a retelling of the original that premiered on October 8th of 1998. It's kinda similar if you've seen Dirty Pair, another 80s anime. There's Dirty Pair Flash, which is an alternate retelling with different art style more modernized to the 90s era, and Bubblegum Crisis Tokyo 2040 is kinda the same thing. To the original Bubblegum Crisis, that is. Don't get me started on 80s anime, I could go on for days. Also, another fun fact, October 8th, the date that Bubblegum Crisis Tokyo 2040 came out, is actually my birthday. Is that a fact? I don't really know. But anyways, since the original Bubblegum Crisis OVA was only 8 episodes and Tokyo 2040 was 26 episodes, this series definitely had more wiggle room in terms of story, and was able to elaborate on the plot a little more. Now, here is finally where Tokyo 2041 comes in. See, there's not a lot of information on this, like I said, so that's why I've been kinda setting up for it up until this point. So, Tokyo 2040 came out in 1998. Fast forward to 2002, when ADV Films, who distributed the Bubblegum Crisis series in the West, teased that a sequel for 2040 was in the works. So the series was in limbo for quite some time and nobody heard anything on it until finally in 2007 when Matt Greenfield, who worked at ADV Films, stated that the anime was delayed due to a lot of the production team behind 2040 being busy on other projects. Unfortunately, this was the last we ever heard of Bubblegum Crisis 2041 altogether. ADV Films eventually became defunct in 2009. The only word of this anime actually existing at all comes from ADV Films, which is interesting considering it's a company that only distributed anime and did not have anything to do with the production of it. No images exist of Bubblegum Crisis 2041, and it's unknown how far in development it actually got. All we have is this fan-made title that I found on the Lost Media Archive. The Lost Films of Sadao Yamanaka. Completely Lost. 1930s. Sadao Yamanaka was both a director and a screenwriter who lived from 1909 to 1938. Known to have directed and released 26 films in his lifetime, only 3 are known to exist today. The other 23 are completely lost media. Yamanaka was known for making jidaigeki or historical films, though did mix in elements of comedy in his work as well. Yamanaka is known to be a key figure in the development of jidaigeki genre films as a whole. The 3 surviving works, titled Kochiyama Shosun, The Million Reel Pot, and Humanity in Paper Balloons, are his final 3 works and were released between 1935 and 1937. The final film, Humanity in Paper Balloons, premiering while Yamanaka was away fighting the war. Unfortunately, Yamanaka died of illness while on the front lines in Manchuria in 1938. He was only 28 years old. While the 3 films I mentioned are for the most part complete, we unfortunately do not have much information regarding the other 23 films aside from some titles. No still images even exist from these lost films. The 3 existing films, however, are regarded as excellent and critically acclaimed for their narrative, performances, and style. The subject matter of Yamanaka's films, as far as we know with what has been preserved, mainly took place in Edo-era Japan and involved a variety of different characters in order to elicit comedic effect, or build a rich variety and build a dynamic view of Japan in a long past age. For example, Humanity in Paper Balloons provides a rich portrait of Edo Japan by contrasting the struggles and lives of a ronin, a hairdresser who runs an illegal gambling ring on the side, and the hard-up son of a renowned and honored samurai. The diversity presented within well-defined and written characters shines through in all 3 of the available films. While only having watched Humanity in Paper Balloons at the time of this video, I must say that I was left very impressed with that film. I used to watch black and white cinema from the 30s and 40s with my grandmother, and I can honestly say that this film stood apart from what I had seen in the past and is a wonderful film. This knowledge leaves a bittersweet thought in the minds of those who appreciate the works of Yamanaka, as the other films had the potential to be even as excellent as the remaining 3, or even better. While I couldn't find a source detailing how these films became lost, it's likely that they were destroyed at some point during World War II. It's an incredible shame, though at the very least, a fragment of Yamanaka's legacy is preserved and appreciated today. Trigun, The Planet Gunsmoke. Cancelled PlayStation 2 game. 2002. So this is another one of those things where there's not a lot of information surrounding it. It's kind of one of those things where it's stuck in production hell and nothing ever came from it. Despite that, however, I do want to add these kinds of things to my list because I want to spread awareness to them and maybe something more will eventually come out of it. Maybe. It's really hard to say with this one, but I do want to, tell people that, hey, there's this cool Trigun game, because Trigun is awesome. When I think of iconic 90s anime, I put Trigun up there with Cowboy Bebop, Evangelion, Outlaw Star, City Hunter 91, Monster. But to those of you who aren't familiar with the series or simply don't read manga or watch anime, Trigun is a manga that began serialization in 1995. The manga lasted up until 2007, though was switched to a different publication in 1997. In total, being a manga that ran for 12 years. The anime adaptation ran for 26 episodes in the spring of 1998. There was also a movie made in 2010. And a video game would be added to that list, though if it were, we wouldn't be talking about it here in my video. Which brings us to the lost video game, Trigun: The Planet Gunsmoke. The game itself was supposed to be in development by Red Entertainment and published by Sega. This information is known because of a 20-second teaser trailer that was shown at Sega's Game Jam event. This is a video game event that Sega used to put together in the early 2000s. However, this would unfortunately be the first and last time we would ever see this game. With no concrete information known on how long this game was in development, we really only know that the game was cancelled due to confirmation of this by Sega. Aside from that, the only other thing Sega has said regarding this game is essentially no comment. Despite the amount of concrete information that we don't have, there is plenty of speculation on why this game was cancelled. See, only 4 months after the unveiling of Trigun: The Planet Gunsmoke, Red Entertainment released a very similar game titled Gungrave. This game looks very similar in style and has a lot of very similar assets that resemble that of the Trigun universe. Perhaps it is just an interesting coincidence, or perhaps it isn't. Hey again, Future Sakura here, making another minor correction. So, the Trigun creator, Yasuhiro Naito, or Naito, it's in English and then in Japanese on Wikipedia, but he worked on Gungrave and Trigun. It is a video game and anime series, Gungrave is, and he worked on Trigun, then moved over to work on Gungrave. So, I'm speculating that with this game, the assets were kind of reused, and the creative Trigun was probably working with Sega and decided that he wanted to do something a little different from Trigun to better suit the game. This is my opinion, but yeah, it's not... You can leave it up to speculation, but that's my opinion, and this new information really does help mold what likely happened or possibly happened a bit more. So there is that. Okay, Future Sakura's leaving now. Back to the video. At the end of the day, this has not been confirmed or denied by any of the developers. If Trigun: The Planet Gunsmoke was far in development, then there is the possibility of a prototype or something playable being out there. Whether or not we'll actually ever see that or play it is another story. But yeah, to wrap this whole thing up, if you do like anime or manga, particularly the kind of spaghetti western in space kind of deal that Cowboy Bebop provides, then I highly recommend Trigun. King Kong appears in Edo. Completely lost film. 1938. While King Kong made its official debut in the United States in 1933, there are a few Japanese incarnations, including the Japan-made King Kong in 1933, completely different film, 1962's King Kong vs. Godzilla, 1967's King Kong Escapes, and the lost King Kong appears in Edo from 1938, made only 5 years after the original film. As I stated just now, there's also King Kong's official debut in Japan, known as Japan-made King Kong. It premiered in 1933, same year as the American film, and that's likely because both are based on a 1932 book. King Kong Appears in Edo was entirely its own thing, and quite different from the 1933 predecessors. While the most notable difference is in visual style, as the King Kong suit in this film is a little terrifying, there's also the different setting of Edo period Japan. The film was directed by Soya Kumagai and distributed by the now-defunct Zensho Cinema. At the time of its release, King Kong Appears in Edo was released in 2 parts, Part 1 in March and Part 2 in April. Also, some fun facts for you, this film, along with the Japan-made King Kong, are among the first kaiju films. The Edo variant predating the original Godzilla by 16 years. Also, Fuminori Ohashi, who helped create the original Godzilla suit, created the King Kong suit for the Edo film. The film itself follows the kidnapping of one of Hyoe Toba's daughters, who, as far as I know, is just a fictional character and not based on any historical figure, though it does sound like kind of a Dynasty Warriors type name. Or like a Nobunaga's Ambition type name from that game series, if I'm remembering the name right. It sounds historical. So his daughter, Chinami, was of course kidnapped by the boy himself, King Kong. Though in this film, King Kong is a man's pet, cause, you know, giant apes were very popular in medieval Japan as pets. While the summary of King Kong appears in Edo is out there, the film itself, consisting of 10 film reels in total, is completely lost. This is unfortunately the case for much of pre-war era cinema of Japan, but hey, at least we have a few posters and still images. Pony Metal Yugaim. Completely lost Microsoft MSX game. Late 1980s. Going off script here, I love the concept of this so much. Pony Metal Yugaim is just such an interesting and unique concept. I love the art style of it so much. It reminds you of like old school Mega Man. And it's great. Like, I legitimately wish they made an anime OVA of this, or some kind of media that was extended to the point where it was like a long running series. It's so cute. I love the design of girl who is creamy mommy. It's so good. But before I start rambling too much, let me go ahead and explain to you what exactly Pony Metal Yugaim is. And I'm not going into any extensive detail while I explain this. If you do want a more extensive description of the history and concept of Pony Metal Yugaim, then hit up Kenny Lauderdale's video, link will be in the description. It's definitely going to cover a lot more than I'm covering, and there's a lot going on with this. Essentially, Pony Metal Yugaim is a doujinshi that took on an identity all its own within the media created for it. For all those who are unfamiliar with the term, a doujinshi or doujin is a fan-made manga that is unrelated to the official media that it's based upon. I hate to describe it this way, but think fan fiction, but manga. Though despite that, famous mangakas such as Clamp and Kenichi Sonoda have created doujins of their own. Being a parody of both Creamy Mommy, an iconic magical girl anime from 1983, and Heavy Metal Elgaim, a 1984 mecha anime, Pony Metal takes inspiration from both series and creates something very unique that ended up gathering a fanbase all its own. This genius creation was created in 1985 and publications lasted up until 1989. This included the doujin manga, a graphic novel, some dope merchandise that I want, a short, well-animated promotional video, and the lost and unreleased video game. What we're going to be talking about today. This lost game was in the works by ASC2? I don't know how to pronounce this, I'm sorry. But they were an electronics firm that had a partnership with Microsoft, at the time at least. The game was intended to be made for the MSX2 computer. Never heard of the Microsoft MSX or MSX2 for that matter? Well, that's because the computer did better in the Japanese market. Kinda like how Laserdiscs were also more popular over there. The MSX computer, available in a few variations and upgraded models, was produced for 10 full years, between 1983 and 1993. A few popular game series saw MSX releases. This includes Bomberman, Metal Gear, Final Fantasy, and Dragon Quest. Unfortunately, Pony Metal Yugaim was unable to join that lineup as the game was cancelled, with the only proof of it actually existing found in the vague mention in the final volume of the Doujin series, and the animation that didn't really tease the game within it at any point. And some more fun facts for you. A VHS of the animation was for sale at General Studios, who was also responsible for the merch, such as this really highly collectible and expensive model kit, and was available in their catalog for 3,500 yen. That's a little over $30 US. Future Sakura is back, guys. Insert time travel noises or something, I don't know. But anyways, the store that actually sold the Pony Metal VHS tape was General Products, and fun fact about them, they actually sold Gainax's merchandise in the very, very early days of Gainax. Like, we're talking Daikon era, and if you haven't seen Daikon, you should check it out. It's a pretty cool animation and kind of made the anime girl in the Playboy bunny suit a thing. I'm rambling now. Okay, Future Sakura out. Actually, no, Future Sakura's coming back. Also, the cover of the VHS tape, there's no actual, photo of it. So whatever photo I showed for when I said, oh, the VHS tape is sold for whatever, that's not the cover. It's something that's, advertising for it, I think, but it's not the actual cover. Okay, Future Sakura leaving now. Though I'm sure actual copies of this VHS tape sell for a hell of a lot more these days. The animation itself was animated by Anime R, a production company best known for assisting projects by Sunrise that has only worked on a handful of projects alone. Like this Demon Slayer anime that predates, well, the other Demon Slayer, and has nothing to do with the other Demon Slayer. I don't know where I'm going with this joke. The Pony Middle short does seem to be their best known work, though. So, between the teaser in the doujin and the promotional animation, people could kind of infer that there was a game likely in the works at some point, though there wasn't any concrete confirmation of this. That is, until 2018. This was when a Twitter user by the name of Foca Shark, who was involved in the development of the original game, posted some photos definitely proving there was a game in development. And while this is only a handful of photos, it is definite proof, and I would love to see more. Foca Shark is still active on Twitter, and it is maybe possible that they may have some more unreleased media related to the game. Like an early build, perhaps? Though likely not, as Foca Shark has stated that this is the only media they have left from the game, which is sad. So you may be asking, Sakura, why was this game never released? Why was this game likely scrapped? Well, a giant, useless dinosaur is likely to blame. Possibly. Maybe. Most definitely. And heck, this dinosaur itself may be lost media, cause I sure as heck have no idea where this monumental waste of money went off to. Like, if they destroyed it after going through the trouble of producing the thing, then holy moly is that a huge waste of money. That's for sure. Oh, what's that? Want to hear exactly what I'm talking about in detail? Want to hear more about this expensive Microsoft dinosaur of legend? Welp, Kenny Lauderdale's video is where it's at. You should definitely check it out. But yeah, up to this point, this is really all the information we know about the Pony Middle U-Gaim video game. Before I move on, I really would like to express my sincerest thanks to Macfish. They have put a tremendous effort on gathering information on Pony Middle U-Gaim, and it really helped me in understanding almost anything there is to know about this awesome series. There are links provided in the description that include the very impressive collection they have gathered regarding Pony Middle U-Gaim merch, manga volumes, and all that jazz. They really went above and beyond with helping me out, and I really wish I could include all the information they gave me in this video. So again, thank you so much, Macfish. It really means a lot. Castle in the Sky alternate ending. Existence unconfirmed. 1988. Now, this piece has such an odd and interesting story. While the existence of it is not confirmed, it does allow for a bit of speculation. And, in my opinion, that's part of the fun in the lost media community. Castle in the Sky is the very first official Studio Ghibli film. While, yes, Nausicaa and the Valley of the Wind came before it, Ghibli was not officially formed and established as a studio until 1985. 1 year before the release of Castle in the Sky in 1986. The film is especially iconic in Japan, and has aired on television almost every year since 1988. While Western audiences love Spirited Away and Princess Mononoke the most, I think, my favorite Ghibli film is Whispers of the Heart, and Japan seems to have a special place for Castle in the Sky out of all the other Ghibli films. So, absolutely nothing was known about a possible alternate ending to Castle in the Sky up until 2007, when images had been posted to Mixi, a Japanese social networking site. These images are Castle in the Sky, but also not quite. The images look kinda low-res and have credits over them in some shots. And it is the sudden appearance of these photos that led to the eventual speculation of a possible alternate ending for the film. A Twitter user by the name of Video VHS has been putting a tremendous effort into finding this supposed lost ending. So much so, in fact, that they are offering actual money to the person who can find the lost ending for them. They're offering 50,000 yen to whoever can find footage of it, and a whopping 70,000 yen to the person who can provide the entire lost broadcast, commercials included. There is also a huge effort being made in finding every one of the yearly broadcasts of Castle in the Sky since 1988. While some have been recovered and provided to Video VHS, the same Twitter user offering cash for the missing ending, there are still a number of them missing. Any one of these missing broadcasts being the possible broadcast that broadcasted the missing ending. And within the Japanese online community, there's even this kind of Hitogata style urban legend for this ending as well. More info on Hitogata in my first video, link in the description. As a number of people have claimed to have seen this alternate ending. Studio Ghibli, however, has gone on record denying the existence of the alternate ending. I do think it's possible for there to be an alternate ending, as the film may have been cut to fit into a specific time slot or something, and this may just be an alternate cut of Castle in the Sky. Like, a cut done by the television station themselves who broadcasted it rather than Ghibli, because that would explain why Ghibli's denying that there's no alternate ending. If you do want to hear more on this specific piece of lost Japanese media, there is a video I found that's pretty informative and goes into a little more detail than I have. Link will be in the description. Gyaku Hanley. Partially found fan game for Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. Early 2000s. I'm really into Ace Attorney right now. Like, I've been binging the Ace Attorney trilogy on the Switch, I've watched the anime, and I've just started reading the manga. Yeah, I'm in Ace Attorney hell right now. Don't send help though, I'm perfectly fine here with my boy Edgelord and his meme-worthy quotes. But you don't want to hear me ramble about my newfound love for a game series I was kinda meh about only a few years prior. Nope, you want to hear me talk about lost media. Well, I definitely have some lost media. And what if I told you it's a lost fan-made game based on Ace Attorney, only it's with furries? Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you Gyaku Hanley, a partially found furry fan game for Ace Attorney released in 2003. So, what do we know about this lost little fan game? For one, we know the creator of this game goes by the name Cheshire, spelt in katakana. We also know that the game was available to download or play online, though the thing is we don't know exactly where the game was playable or where it could be downloaded at the time it was available. English information is a little scarce with this one, though there is a dojinshi.org webpage that kind of details the work and its history to an extent in English. So right off the bat, looking at the art of this game, it is inspired by Ace Attorney and plays similarly to it. You can also tell that there is little furry versions of Phoenix Wright. There's a wolf. Miles Edgeworth is a panther character, though they are not the same characters. They're based on them and have completely different character traits and such. There's also the judge that looks like that idiot judge in the first games, but it's an owl. So all in all, it does take a lot of elements and character designs, outfits, and such from the actual games, but in itself, from what I've read, it's very much its own game and does have original characters and an original plot. Another fascinating little piece of information is the game had original music, which really shows the amount of effort the creator put into this game. So as far as availability, there is footage of the game itself on YouTube, but nobody knows for sure if this is the full gameplay or just one part of the game, and it hasn't been confirmed by anyone if there's more to it or not. The person who uploaded this footage claims that there's no playable copies of the game available. How or why they know that, we don't really know. Though, the latest development in this search occurred on December of 2017 when a Lost Media Wiki user called French Fry Senpai, awesome name by the way, left a comment saying that they managed to download the game by chance years ago. The user does go on to state that there are some visual differences with the demo and the final version of the game and the footage available, and they wonder if it's just a simple demo of the game or an early build. On top of that, it's really unknown if there was a full game or if it was just a demo and didn't go further than those early beta stages. There's no real evidence of gameplay beyond the stuff we have and know right now, though the demo can be downloaded from a link on the Lost Media Wiki if you guys do want to check it out. Because of its age, it does have a little trouble running on certain computers though. I haven't tried it myself as of right now, so just keep that in mind. Either way, my final thoughts on this is that the art is pretty dope. It's original. The girl, cat wolf creature in the art, I don't know if that's a cat or a wolf. I love her design. She's really cute. There's also, I love the Edgeworth design. I love Edgeworth in general. I actually talk about that on my seasonal anime and gaming favorites video. Shameless plug there, but if you want to hear me talk about Ace Attorney more, go ahead and hit that up. If it's out, I'm pretty sure it's out now. Anyways, back to the point, this looks really cool. I love the art style. It's really a good tribute to the Ace Attorney games with the style of it. It looks really cool. It's a shame it wasn't released in a bigger caliber online so that it's readily available. I'm not sure about this Cheshire dude. Hopefully they got the credit they deserve for putting this much work into it. But yeah, it's a cool thing. Good deal. Chikara to Onna no yo no Naka. Lost animated film, 1933. Chikara to Onna no yo no Naka, which translates to Within the World of Power and Women, is very important in that it is the first anime film to have voiceover and voice actors. And because the wonderful world of voiceover did not exist at this point in time, obviously, this film actually used established actors at the time to voice the characters. This included well-known actors of the era such as Roppa Furukawa and Nanko Sawa. And while these names aren't recognizable today, they sure were in 1930s Japan. The creator of this early anime is a man by the name of Kenzo Masaoka. A man who was especially influential in the development of early anime, particularly in being the first anime creator that used cell animation. Masaoka built up an extensive filmography during the duration of his career, beginning in 1927 with Sea Palace and ending in 1950 with Tora-chan and the Insect. The Tora-chan film in particular being the final in a series of 3 Tora-chan films. If you're interested in watching the Tora-chan films specifically, they are available on YouTube. This series of films is really interesting and worth checking out in that they paint an interesting picture for the time period in which they were created. Despite the characters being cats, it really depicts a time post-World War II when people were on really tough times and struggling to make ends meet. The Tora-chan films are a very interesting and historical piece of anime history, as well as the history of Japan as a whole. Chikara to Onna no yo no Naka has a pretty interesting plot. The protagonist, if you want to call him that, is a father of 4 children. His wife is overweight and abusive. Because of said abuse, the man begins an affair with a typist who works with him and then accidentally tells his wife in his sleep. Later on, the wife goes on to confront the husband and the typist. All in all, it's a pretty interesting story, one that can translate to today's society as well as 1930s Japan, and is pretty interesting. Though, while we do have the summary of what the anime itself entailed, there is nothing else except for a couple of still images. Other than that, no actual footage of this anime exists today, and it's likely gone for good considering the time period it was created in. Though, despite this, we do have some animations by Masaoka still available today. Masaoka did also mentor a couple animators as well, including Mitsuyo Seo and Yasuji Mori. The Golden Bat Millennium version and Golden Bat Mateno no Kaijin. Lost pieces of media associated with the Golden Bat franchise. 1950 and early 2000s. Okay, so I got a lot of requests to cover this one. I was aware of Kenny Lauderdale's video, which you should 120% go check out right now if you haven't. He's really the one to thank for shedding more light on this awesome character. Golden Bat is among the most influential figures in Japanese media, whether people are aware of that fact or not. This superhero even predates Superman with its humble beginnings as a kamishibai story, which is essentially a form of slideshow storytelling that predates manga. The Golden Bat has a number of iterations, ranging from live-action film to its best-known adaptation with the 1967 anime. There's even a manga adaptation by the great Osamu Tezuka. A few of these adaptations are lost media, the most well-known of them probably being Phantomon, the lost English dub. There's also that play by Tokyo Kid Brothers I mentioned earlier, though the contents of that reenactment are unknown. Other than that, there are 2 pieces we're going to look at in this video, the 1950 film and the rumored anime remake titled New Bat Golden Millennium. Let's start with the latter one first. New Golden Bat Millennium version, as the title is officially known as, is technically a short animation done by Shinichi Watanabe, someone who is known for working on anime such as Tenchi Muyo GPX and Sket Dance. The second one being an anime I forgot about entirely until researching this topic further. It's a pretty good series. Anyways, all we really know aside from that is that the Millennium version was released sometime in the early 2000s. I can't even find any info on the producers or studio involved other than Watanabe's involvement as a singular person. I'm not even entirely sure where this anime was distributed. It's just kind of on YouTube, and the music in it is kind of sort of amazing. It is highly speculated that this very short animation was a trailer for a full anime series, anime movie, OVA, or otherwise. And there are various reasons why this could be the case. For one, unlike that Pony Metal promotional film we talked about earlier, New Golden Bat Millennium does not have any form of a story arc or narrative or anything and is very short. It features brief clips of very polished scenes, all of which aren't really related. This animation is very much a fragment of the intended full project, at least in my opinion. I personally think it could either be a trailer or a film made to persuade investors into funding a full series. It is really unfortunate that nothing came out of this, as a lot of old series such as Devilman, Dororo, and Osomatsu-kun-san have found success in modern times. Next, we have the 1950 film. This film, being made after World War II and after the early Japanese King Kong films, as well as Sadao Nakayama's works, was not lost due to World War II. While not known how it got lost, it's likely that this one was lost simply due to poor storage or because the existing copies were destroyed at some point. The film was distributed by Toei as well, which is interesting considering it predates Godzilla. Now, I gotta be honest, this one is incredibly hard to find information on at all, and barely anything is known about it other than that it doesn't exist anymore. I mean, there's also little tidbits about the plot found in newspaper clippings, but again, go check out Kenny Lauderdale's video. He goes into that, he did all the research on that end, so definitely, if you're interested in this topic, support his video. Like, unfortunately, literally nothing comes up in an English language search, and barely anything comes up in a Japanese search. All I could find in the English search were people searching for info on this film. Honestly, this really is a huge shame considering the historical significance to Toho. Hey, Future Sakura here again. I think this is the last correction, I'm pretty sure it is. But yeah, the Golden Bat film made by Toho is actually called The Golden Bat Is Here, and it's from 1970. It is not the 1950 film. And sshiNy possibly did the 1950 film. Again, information is scarce, but I was corrected by Kenny Lauderdale himself, and I am adding this because kind of a big inconsistency there. But yeah, Toho is not the filmmaker that made the Golden Bat film from 1950. So yeah, corrected. And the Golden Bat franchise as a whole. But yeah, that's really all I have to say about the Lost Golden Bat pieces of media. It's a real shame that I can't provide more information, but I'll talk about the Lost Dub in a future video. On Lost Dubs, of course. Go for a Punch, or Saki Sanobashi, maybe kinda lost anime OVA thing from the 80s, or urban legend, or something? I don't freaking know. By that intro you can likely tell I'm not taking this as seriously as other topics on this list, and yeah, I'm really not. Before releasing this video, I put out a poll asking if people wanted to see me add Go for a Punch to this one specific video, and most of you guys did say yes. So I'm kind of treating this as a nice little bonus at the end of the video, I suppose. And I mean, I wasn't really sure I wanted to cover this at first at all. I originally planned to put this in the first video, but it seemed kind of like a troll and not real. The whole Saki Sanobashi thing in general. But then interesting developments kinda came from the search and I decided to add it. I'm not gonna go too much into this. If you really want an in-depth search on Go for a Punch, check out Wang's videos. They're 100 times better than this is gonna be. I just don't really think there's a lot of substantial evidence or real evidence at all. The biggest difference between this and Clockman and even Hitogata is that there's multiple accounts that are similar, where a lot of the other accounts with Saki Sanobashi are kind of just trolls and don't really add up, and even the initial post we don't even know is real. So take this one with a grain of salt, but I'm gonna cover it because you guys voted that I should, so here we go. Saki Sanobashi is supposedly a rumored lost Guro anime. It's known by Saki Sanobashi, but the only substantial original post calls it Go for a Punch, so it's probably called Go for a Punch. Who really knows at this point? But yeah, it's supposedly from the 80s or early 90s, and the plot involves a number of high school girls. The accounts vary by numbers, but it's usually 3 to 9 high school girls being locked in a bathroom with no exits. The girls then interact with each other on some levels. Some people say they're naked, some people say they're not. It's kind of like a really warped and messed up bottle episode. And at some point they all fall into despair, like some kind of Danganronpa shit, and all kill themselves and each other. But you see, this is all based on accounts who claim to have seen it. Some of these people have gone on record saying they were trolling, and it's just kind of a mess. I mean, I'm not even gonna lie, it's just, this search is so messy and all over the place at this point. The search officially began like 5 years ago when a 4chan user recalled seeing it years ago on this thread about the most traumatizing things you've ever seen. After that, the YouTuber Wang covered it, I guess like a year ago with his first episode, and that's when the search really blew up. It got to the point where the Discord and the Reddit just became kind of shit shows, and they're all memes and fan art. There's supposedly some fan adaptations or recreations or just general creations of something that may not exist at all. So that's a thing. Basically, the whole search effort is kind of a hellscape and nobody really takes it seriously anymore. Later on, somebody claiming to be the original 4chan user who talked about it initially came forward and said they made it up, though people are claiming that that person is not the original poster and they're also a troll, so it's getting kinda elaborate, I would say. But yeah, check out the Wang videos. Obviously, I'm not really being in-depth with this. He goes really in-depth with the search, and you can kind of take with that information how you think, or what you think Saki Sanobashi or Go for a Punch really is, if it's fake or not. There is some kind of interesting developments that people have come across and found and stuff. Like, they found this weird Japanese film from the 80s, like kind of a budget film made to make a quick buck, of this girl brushing her teeth in a bathroom aggressively, where she bleeds all over at some point. It's messed up. I believe it is on YouTube. But yeah, to wrap this all up, at the end of the day, there are people who still think this thing exists. There is a new subreddit of people trying to actually find it. I believe it's called Saki no Bashitsu or something. I'll link it in the description if you are interested. But as we stand right now, the plot kind of sounds like something someone put together with all the elements of like really messed up horror anime to sound dark and scary and possibly edgy. So people on 4chan just kind of rolled with it. Who knows though? I mean, it could exist. I would be surprised if it does. But, I mean, really, nobody knows. So yeah, Go for a Punch. That's really all I have to say about it. For the love of God, just check out Wang's videos if you're interested. And with all that said, welcome to the end of my video. I gotta say guys, I've been really enjoying this new direction I've been taking with my content, and it makes me really happy that you guys enjoy it too. So thank you so much for checking out my stuff. I think I figured out how mixing works in the meantime, so hopefully this video is a little easier to hear. I have a really quiet voice. And I also have somewhat of an announcement, as I'm in a podcast now. Myself and a buddy of mine, Shibuna Laguna, have actually started an anime and kinda gaming related podcast. It's called Sugoi Saga, and if you guys are interested in hearing us talk about anime related stuff, then go ahead and check us out. We are Sugoi Saga. The link will be in the description as well as up right here. So far, we've only recorded one episode, and that should be up right now, so I do hope you all enjoy it. Also, kind of micro announcement here, but I'm starting to work on a video about lost anime dubs, and that will likely become another series with the absolute overabundance of lost dubs out there. So in the comments section below, I ask that you give me some lost anime dubs you'd like me to consider for that video. Preferably English dubs, because I kind of want to focus on that. I'm an English speaker. English and Japanese are the only languages I really have a grip on, and with the sheer amount of dubs, it'd be kind of hard to focus on all of them, so yeah, English dubs that are lost preferably. So yeah, give me lost dubs that you would love to see found, dubs that you would love and think the world needs and absolutely requires to see, without another second of not seeing these dubs. Or, you know, just lost dubs you think are cool. Either one. Anyways, with all of that said, I have a lot of interesting topics planned, so I really hope you all look forward to the future of this channel and all the wonderful videos I plan to put out. But yeah, thanks again for the support, and I will see you all very soon. Bye for now!
あんたが好きで好きすぎてどれだけ強いお酒でも歪まない思い出が
バカみたい